When you're looking at a box-style 4K cam for a studio, a conference room, or a small production space, the first thought is usually, will this actually save me time? Or am I just buying another piece of hardware that ends up gathering dust? That hesitation is real, because the market is packed with cameras that promise auto tracking and 20 zoom, but then require a whole rack of extra gear just to make them work. I'm going to walk through the Telycam Vision+4KZ the way I'd evaluate it for myself, and for anyone who's trying to decide if it's worth the slot in the budget. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kind of workflow this camera is built for. The Vision+4KZ is a fixed lens, 1 or 1.8-inch sensor box that shoots true 4K at 60 frames per second and gives you a full 20 optical zoom. That's a nice sweet spot for people who need to cover a medium-sized room without swapping lenses. The AI auto-framing and auto-tracking are baked into the firmware, so you don't need an external software suite to get a subject centered as they move across the stage. In practice, that means you can point the camera at a podium, press a button on the side-mounted LCD, and let the AI keep the speaker in frame as they walk to the whiteboard. For a church live stream or a weekly team meeting, that's a genuine time saver. Now, who will actually get value from those features? If you're a hobbyist streamer who already has a DSLR or a mirrorless camera and you're comfortable manually pulling focus, you'll probably find the Vision+4KZ a bit restrictive. It doesn't have interchangeable lenses, so you can't swap to a wider angle or a faster aperture for low-light events. The fixed f/stop sits around f/2.8 at the wide end, which is decent but not a magic bullet when you're trying to shoot a dimly lit banquet hall. On the other hand, a small to medium production house that needs a plug-and-play 4K source for multi-camera rigs will appreciate that you can run power, video, and control over a single PoE Plus cable. The camera also outputs a full 4K stream and a cropped 1080p stream simultaneously, which makes it easy to feed a live broadcast while keeping a higher resolution backup for post-production. Ease of use is where the Vision+4KZ tries to differentiate itself. The side-mounted LCD isn't a full-size touchscreen, but the color screen gives you a clear view of exposure, zoom level, and AI tracking status. The tactile buttons feel solid, and you can adjust zoom, focus, and framing without diving into a deep menu hierarchy. In my testing, the menu depth is only 3 layers deep before you hit the setting you need. That's a relief compared to some competing box cameras, where you have to scroll through dozens of pages just to change the zoom speed. However, the autofocus confidence isn't perfect. In bright, high-contrast scenes the AI locks onto a face quickly, but in a room lit with soft, diffused lighting it can hesitate, occasionally hunting before it settles. That's something to keep in mind if you plan to use the camera in low-light environments without adding extra lighting. Speaking of low-light performance, the 1 or 1.8-inch sensor does a respectable job up to about 120 lux. Beyond that, you'll start seeing noise in the shadows, and the AI tracking can get confused by the grain. If you're recording a church service with only a few spotlights, you'll likely need to supplement with a couple of inexpensive LED panels to keep the image clean. The camera doesn't have in-body image stabilization, so any handheld or moving camera scenario will produce a jittery picture. The design assumes you'll mount it on a tripod or a ceiling rig, which is fine for static setups, but a drawback if you imagined a more dynamic, run-and-gun style shoot. Connectivity is one of the strongest points. HDMI, USB 2.0, NDX3, SRT, RTSP, RTMP, and a 3.5mm audio jack cover pretty much every streaming workflow I've encountered. The dual output streaming lets you send a high-quality 4K feed to your encoder, while simultaneously pushing a low-resolution 1080p stream to a platform that can't handle the bandwidth. The microSD slot lets you record locally as a safety net, and the tally light on the front panel gives a visual cue that the camera is actively recording or streaming, a small but handy feature for live productions. Battery confidence is an interesting point because the Vision+4KZ is designed primarily for continuous power via PoE+. If you have a PoE+ switch or injector, you can run the camera indefinitely, which removes the anxiety of a dead battery in the middle of a broadcast. There is also a DC input for situations where PoE+ isn't available, but you'll need a separate power brick. For anyone who needs true portability, say, a field reporter hopping between locations, this isn't the best choice. It's built for a semi-permanent installation. Let's talk about price and value. The Vision+4KZ sits